So here's what happened. George Russell got kicked out of the Belgian race, which means Lewis Hamilton actually won. Now, the stuff in this video was written before they announced this news, so just remember that when you're watching. But it doesn't mean the information isn't still important, because Mercedes did really well this weekend. So let's talk about it. Mercedes totally crushed it at the Spa race, with both their drivers finishing first and second. Hamilton and Russell started the race in third and sixth place. But things got a little crazy at the end when Russell was trying to win with just one pit stop. The young British driver was hoping to get on the podium, but he ended up winning the whole race after fighting off his own teammate. But did this happen because his team didn't listen to Hamilton's radio messages? And how does the seven-time champion feel about this now that he only has 11 races left with Mercedes? It's pretty crazy to say that Mercedes getting first and second place wasn't expected after what we saw all weekend in Spa. But smart racing moves, taking good care of their tires, and getting lucky when another driver got a penalty helped the silver cars get within just 119 points of the Austrian team. This definitely gives them hope for the second half of the season. This 1-2 win for Mercedes was their first this year after they got the front row in qualifying at Silverstone, and it was their third win in 2024. But the victory didn't happen without some drama. For example, when Hamilton took the lead early in the race and fought off another driver's attack, you'd think the team would build their plan around him and try to get the best result for Russell, who was fighting his own battle behind. But when they called Hamilton into the pits to defend against another driver's strategy move, Hamilton thought this was unnecessary because he felt his tires were working just fine. This created a really interesting situation because Hamilton had to use his tires much harder, which made them wear out more. But it still wasn't bad enough for him to need 2 pit stops. Hamilton said many times on the radio that he was happy with his tires, but the team still called him in anyway. On the other hand, Russell asked the team to think about the 1 pit stop strategy when he was ahead of another driver, and they didn't even question this choice. This makes you wonder if they like Russell's strategy ideas more than Hamilton's, even after everything that's happened in the past 3 years between Mercedes and Hamilton with car development fights and direction changes. But it's a clear message that Mercedes is sending. The driver who's staying with the team from 2025 on is Russell, not Hamilton. So if there's a chance for the younger British driver to win, the team won't do anything to help Hamilton in his last races with Mercedes. This probably won't make the 7-time world champion happy in his last 11 races of the season, because, just like in Canada, the radio was completely quiet at the end of the race. This shows how frustrated he was with the team's decisions throughout the entire race in Spa. The team boss explained this situation, telling us why one of the drivers was allowed to go for the 1 pit stop while the other one had to pit twice, even though the tires seemed fine and perfect for racing. The Austrian said, "I'd like to have 2 winners today, but we had to protect against other drivers and Norris. We would have been passed, and that was the decision. George had nothing to lose. We were in 5th place, and both the 1-stop and 2-stop strategies were showing 5th place, so we just kept him out. George was very good today, but when you look at the speed, Lewis was also good. They both did an amazing job. The strategy worked out for George and not for Lewis, but like I said, I'd like to have 2 winners today. We just need to stay calm and try to do our best in every race, and then we'll see what happens at the end of the championship. If we had finished 3rd in Spa, it would have been a success anyway." Even in the cool-down room, Hamilton told another driver that the tires were fine during all the times he was told to pit, which again makes you wonder if he's being hurt by his own team. Though there's plenty of proof that points the other way, since he has out-qualified Russell quite recently in the past couple of races. Ever since some email accusations became popular online, Mercedes is definitely getting better, no doubt about it. But will this come with bad feelings between Russell and Hamilton in the final races of 2024? Time will tell, because in the cool-down room, the tension was really obvious, as neither one of them wanted to start a conversation or act happy about a result that the team would have dreamed of just yesterday, let alone at the beginning of the season. But you can't take away Russell's success. Managing to defend against your own teammate and pass another driver who seemed to have the fastest car all weekend on much older tires is definitely something that puts you up there as one of the greatest drivers in the sport. Already having 2 wins this season, with this one being much more valuable because it came after he started in 6th place, and wasn't by luck like the one in Austria, but rather by his own strategy. This is something that looks good for his future with Mercedes and the championship-winning times that are slowly but surely coming back to the team. When talking about the race after it was over, Hamilton said, "To get a 1-2 going into summer break is pretty amazing. I wasn't expecting us to be as strong as we were, but it felt great to get in the lead. It was a bit of a shock at the end, but we'll take it and move forward. We can all go into the summer break with our heads high for sure. It is a positive fight with your teammate. George wasn't really in my race for most of it, so if the strategy had been done right, he wouldn't have been in my race and we wouldn't have been having that fight. But it is great that at the end, we gave the car was so far ahead. What was definitely at risk was the 1-2 finish of the team because another driver was on much fresher tires and catching up behind, which is why a TV commentator felt Russell would let Hamilton by easily in order to get the best results for the team, since even 2nd place would have been a massive result considering that he started the race in 6th place. However, ever since Hamilton entered the DRS zone, it was obvious that there would be no letting go from Russell, as he fought hard on much more worn tires to keep his lead ahead of his teammate. This is something that could have been avoided if Mercedes helped Hamilton with his strategy. This is something that Hamilton has also said after the race. And when talking about the one thing he would change if he could do it again, he proudly said, "The strategy." Another driver was very close at the end, and if there had been a couple more laps, he highly doubts that both of the Mercedes drivers would have been able to defend against the angry Australian, who was definitely going for his 2nd win in a row in his career. This was more or less stopped by his aggressive pit stop that cost him 4.4 seconds, again helping Mercedes in a great way. Even so, the Silver Arrows have now shown a pattern of behavior that we can't ignore. And while the focus is on the team championship, where they are extremely close to 2nd and 3rd place, and potentially even 1st if they keep getting better, Russell is the driver who they expect to win whenever he has a chance. A similar situation happened last race in Hungary with McLaren. Just because another driver was leading most of the race and was passed by his own teammate, the team told the teammate to give the position back, which wasn't done. Now with Mercedes, all the team said to Hamilton was to leave enough space, as they also thought this would be an easy pass given the nature of the track. This shouldn't have been a challenge for the 7-time world champion. Now Mercedes can't wait for the summer break to be over as they are looking forward to the first race of the second half of the season at Zandvoort, where they will have the new floor part that seemed to not have worked any magic here in Spa. Talking about this situation, the team boss said, "We changed the floor, but I don't think the performance came from this. We tripped over ourselves with something mechanical. We will have the new floor in Zandvoort." With all this in mind, do you think that there is now tension in Mercedes after the latest 1-2 finish in Spa that definitely didn't go in Hamilton's favor? And more importantly, do you think that in the team's meeting, the 7-time world champion will have a lot to say about calling his own strategies from now on? Let us know what you're thinking in the comments below. And once you do that, check out the video that's appearing on your screen right now.